Be the best of the world, but you define the world. What would Jerry do? I often tell the story of the Grateful Dead. Seriously, the first time I read this, I had to really wiki this. Obviously, it's actually a band in the 1960s. The beauty about reading Seth's work is a lot of the stories that he tells are actually very old. So you got to do a little bit of searching over here. So here he goes. And yet, almost no one has the guts to commit to this sort of service. The leadership of connection. I first wrote about them 10 years ago. Wow. And yet, too many of us fall into the trap of seeking whatever passes for the top 40 in our industry instead. So far, I've purchased 233 different Grateful Dead albums, more than 500 hours of music altogether. The Dead are an almost perfect example of the power of marketing for the smallest viable market. It's worth a few minutes to deconstruct what they did and how they did it, because it will inform the long, strange trip we are on here. Although it's become a familiar example, musicians, publishers, gym owners, consultants, chefs, and teachers seem to forget the core lesson in the Dead's failure to race for a hit. First, few kids grow up wanting to start a band like the Grateful Dead. The Dead had a grand total of one top 40 Billboard hit. One. They are easily dismissed as some sort of quirky hippie band. Their fans, true fans, fans who are also easily dismissed as quirky hippies, and yet, triple dot. And yet the Dead grows more than 350 million in revenue, while Jerry Garcia was alive, and another 100 million since his death. I'm not even counting record sales, just concert tickets. Amazing. Most of that run was accomplished where ticket prices averaged just $23. How? That's a big question over there. Because the true fans show up. Because the true fans spread the word. And because the true fans never fully satisfied their need to be connected. Here are a few key elements of the Dead's marketing success. Number one, they appealed to a relatively tiny audience and focused all their energy on them. Number two, they didn't use radio to spread their ideas to the masses. Instead, they rely on fans to share the word, hand to hand, by encouraging them to tape their shows. Number three, instead of hoping to encourage a large number of people to support them a little, they rely on a small number of true fans who supported them a lot. Number four, they picked the extremes on the XY axis, like live concerts versus polished records, long jams for the family versus the short hits for the radio, and own them both. And number five, as they say, they gave the fans plenty to talk about and stand for, insiders and outsiders. They needed three things to pull this off. Number one, extraordinary talent. You can't fake your way through 146 concerts in a year. Significant patience. In 1972, considered by some to be a peak year for the band, only 5,000 people came to a typical show. It took more than a decade before the Dead became an overnight success. And number three, the guts to be quirky. It couldn't have been easy to watch the Zombies, the Doors, and even the Turtles sell far more records than they did, for a while anyway. In 1972, being obstinate, generous, and lucky was an accident that led to their surprising success. Today, though, in most industries, including the music industry, this sort of success is not an accident. It is the best path to success, and in many ways, the most rewarding as well. Now, I really want to highlight this because when I started my career many years ago, I'm not sure which book I read from Seth Godin. it changed my life. And still, it is actually the cornerstone of my belief on what I do. I couldn't remember the entire sentence. It goes by, be the best of the world, but you define the world. So this is really saying that you have to niche in a way that you have to find a positioning. And when I say niche in, doesn't mean that you can't go into a market where there are a lot of competitors, because this is what a lot of people worry. When we are going, let's say, for example, for me, I'm a meta ads optimization strategist. If you go to YouTube and find somebody who is talking about meta advertising, I bet you can find thousands of them. And a lot of them has so much bigger following than what I have. But here's the thing. Even everybody has got their own followings there. When you are truly good at what you do, you bring value to a bunch of people who believe and connects with you, and that would actually make you something. Like until today, as we are making this video, my main YouTube channel, which is the Jason Gunn for Meta Advertising, still have about only like 12,000 people, but that YouTube channel itself supported my business in the past 5 years and built me to what I am today. And like that's what actually Seth is trying to say here is you gotta be the best of the world, but you define the world. Even if you're going into a market that has got a lot of competitors, I think it's beneficial for you to really drill in and find out what truly distinguishes you from other people in the market. So for me, I was actually into analytics and I'm an optimization strategist. Instead of just anybody out there that talks about general meta advertising, techniques, tactics, and all, I stand for something that those people who truly appreciate that would actually be drawn to me. That's how I connect with my best audience. So for those of you who are actually starting out, especially if you're starting out, and if you're trying to be a coach, a consultant, and freelancer, I truly believe that you must be somebody that will actually learn a lot to become where you are today. You really have to believe that you must have something that people out there are looking for. And when I say people out there, means you actually have to look at the world as your arena. You're no longer confined to your country, especially when I talk to a lot of freelancers from Malaysia and Southeast Asian region, even in Singapore and all. I find it very interesting where a lot of them are still very much confined to the country itself. I mean, to be frank, Malaysia is not really a very fertile so-called land for freelancers, especially if you're in something that is competitive like design, graphic design, even web design. But when you expand your horizon and actually look at the world, you are competing with I mean, yes, it sounds scary that actually you're competing with the world, but then again, you definitely would have a way to drill into a thing that you truly believe in and that makes you shine. So that takes a bit of process, definitely. Like, for example, if you're actually a graphic designer, so how would you like to position yourself becomes a very important thing because that would actually draw the right audience to you. You don't want to go in and just be a general web designer that does everything, but what is really special about you is really something that you have to find out. So it actually is a process where you have to go through a lot of trial and errors. But what I really want to say here is if there is any shortcut I can actually provide, I'm encouraging you to start whether a blog, a Facebook account, or Facebook page, or Instagram account, or even a YouTube channel. That I would definitely encourage because YouTube allows you to do a lot more than just words and images and all. So that's how I actually kind of started my channel. Because on a YouTube channel, you can actually do case study. You don't really need to show your face. You can do case study, you can review other websites, you can actually do a lot more different content that allows people to learn more about you and to really understand your expertise and connect with you. And don't be afraid about starting out in creating content because I would say, put it this way, whatever way that you're actually planning to start building your content, it will change in, I would say, maybe one or two videos. If you are doing video, one or two videos down the road, you actually would change from the original one. But that's a natural thing. Remember, we are evolving creatures. The way we speak, the way we react to things, the way we do work, the way we actually create content, everything is actually evolved. So you have to believe the process would actually take you to the destination. But what I really want to encourage you here is speaking up and trying to make a voice in the market is actually the best way for you to find your world that makes you the best of the world.